So I wanted to make an update video regarding my cataract surgery with the PanOptix lens implants, trifocal lens implants. Today I had my 1 month post-op. So today what they said was that as I suspected, my overall vision, she said, is 20/20. And from prior experience with glasses and contact lenses, that's pretty much what I expected. So in any case, of course, but since it's a trifocal lens, not only am I 20/20 at distance, but I've also got really good intermediate vision, so-called computer vision, as well as close-up vision. So, for example, if I wanted to, like read the ingredients list on this bottle of Diet Coke, I can actually see it pretty easily. So that's quite amazing. Now, of course, the downside with trifocal lenses, and of course there's always a downside. There are always, there's no such thing as a perfect lens, and you can't really cheat the laws of physics. They make little compromises here and there. So one of the downsides with the trifocal lenses is that I do see sort of rings or halos around the like certain points of light at night. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to insert, when I edit this video, I'm going to insert I'm going to make a little drawing of sort of what that looks like. But it's only certain lights that these halos appear around, and they're sort of mimicking the structure of the lens itself. The lens, basically, it has the lenses are actually quite small, and if you can, and maybe I can find a picture of the lens, but and maybe include that here as well. But they've got, imagine just a little circle. That would be for the distance. And then there's concentric rings, 29 of them, in fact, on a PanOptix lens. There are 29 concentric rings. They get bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's like almost like a 60s pop art type thing. If you look at it, the way it's designed, and those rings are what gives the extra power beyond the simple distance focus. And so the halos that I see around lights are sort of mimicking the structure of the lens. Now, I don't find the halos disturbing at all. They don't bother me. Now, and some people, they might find that to be a bother, and so that's something to keep in mind. But as far as I've driven a lot at night, since it's, of course, I went back to work 2 days after the surgery, drive a truck over the road, and so I've driven at this point thousands of miles at night. And being able to see at night hasn't been a problem. And like I say, seeing the ring structure, those ghostly halos, they're not very prominent. They're interesting looking. Seeing those around points of light, it could either be, at certain points of light, and I think it may have to do with the color, as well as the angle that the light is coming off of, or so obviously, like brake lights or whatever, it'll show up very prominently in some brake lights, but not others, for example, or some street lamps it shows up, but in others it doesn't, for whatever reason. So sometimes with stoplights, but not always. So that really doesn't bother me, but like I say, that can bother some people, and so that's something to keep in mind. But but some people find these things disconcerting, and quite frankly, I don't. But then again, as I mentioned in the previous video, since I was a kid, I've had a lot of floaters kind of floating around in my vision, and and I've just for whatever reason, I can notice them if I want to, and if I'm looking at a bright white computer screen, then I will notice them. But and there are probably more now than when I was younger. But the floaters don't really bother me. Now, they do bother some people. Some people really become distraught about if they've never had floaters and then suddenly they develop floaters as let's say as an adult. They may develop, most people probably will develop floaters as they age. Like I say, I had them at my entire life, as far as I can remember seeing the floaters kind of floating around in my vision, and so it's no big deal. So kind of take that into account. My vision, really has never been quote unquote perfect. It's been correctable to 20/20, and it's obviously, I can see well at night. Seeing at night with the trifocal lenses isn't a problem. This really isn't a problem. I think that people that don't like to drive at night probably maybe don't have enough experience driving at night. I've had a lot of experience, and I've had to probably, many years ago overcome my any anxiety that I would feel, let's say, with oncoming, really bright oncoming headlights. I've just learned to deal with it, and but I really don't have a problem driving at night. So even in situations where it's at night in the rain or at night in the fog or whatever, the thing to do, of course, is to slow down, especially if it's foggy. I would suggest you get in a dense fog, and a lot of people just keep right on zooming. They'll try to go the speed limit or whatever, or maybe even beyond, and that's asking for trouble. They may get away with it, but it's really asking for trouble because you're overdriving your sight distance, and that's one thing you really don't want to do, is overdrive your sight distance. How far ahead can you actually see? Because that's going to be limited by your, the power of your headlights. And then if you start introducing things like rain or especially fog, that's really going to end up limiting your sight distance, and you really should slow down to the point where you feel comfortable being able to stop. Let's say if there was suddenly something in front of you, but if you're going too fast, then you can't. You can try hitting your brakes, but you're going to run into it because you're overdriving your sight distance. So I've learned to do all these things over the years, and so I really don't see any difference between prior, as far as being able to see at night, prior to the surgery and after the surgery. In fact, it's probably, if anything, it's now better after the surgery. Of course, they did get rid of the cataracts that I had. So, but in any case, the trifocal lenses are working for me. It's they really are working. Of course, I did a bunch of research prior to this, and I wasn't sure, and of course a lot of the people say, well, if you're a truck driver, you should just stick with the fixed length lenses, and then you just have to wear glasses if you want to be able to see close up, or you want to be able to see at intermediate. They'll tell you just you need to just stick with the the fixed length, just the so-called standard lens fixed for 20/20 vision distance. But you can, at least in my case, it did work out with the trifocal lenses, and I would do it again. If I had it to do over again, knowing what I know now, I would do it again in a heartbeat. But at the same time, if let's say you're a truck driver, and you're thinking about, you have to get cataract surgery, you're thinking about trifocal lenses. Are they worth it? Can you live with them? That's a decision you're going to have to make. Now, like I say, I do see the halos around part of the lights, and like I say, it really doesn't bother me at all. I just kind of, in fact, when I see let's say I see a light that's really got a strong, it's let's say it's less of a ghostly halo, it's more prominent, I find it quite interesting. So, but that's me. But in any case, otherwise, that she said that the lenses themselves so far, of course I'm only a month out, but the lenses so far, everything looks just as ideal as it can. And so far, I don't have any problem that would require YAG. There's a procedure called a YAG capsulotomy, and what that happens, I guess, in about 30% of people requiring that procedure, the YAG capsulotomy. And basically, what that is the back part of the capsule, the lens capsule, ends up, there's some lens cells that weren't, that were just lurking around. They weren't completely cleaned out, and sometimes they'll sort of they'll form a kind of a film over the back. This would be behind the artificial lens on that lens capsule. That's part of the structure of the eye. And so what they do with the YAG capsulotomy, they just kind of use a YAG, what's called a YAG laser, and then that punches a hole, through that capsular bag, which is only like 3 or 4 cells thick. It's a very flimsy bag, but that's the natural biological bag that contains the lens, the natural lens. They leave that there to hold the artificial lens structure. That's the structure that holds it, and so they punch a hole in that, and they only do this if it's needed, and then that allows the light through, and it's a one-time deal. So far, don't have any issues with that, but that remains to be seen. But like I said, from what the research I've done, they say that happens in approximately 30% of cases of people that have cataract surgery. So it's one in 3 people, basically. So it's kind of a pretty common thing to have happen. So that may or may not happen, and it could happen sooner, or it could happen. Sometimes it happens much later. So, in any case, I'll give another update probably after the 3-month post-op exam. I'll give another update at that point.